It's been about 10 years since I've shared a testimony with the church, so bear with me. We're going to get through this. So a lot of you know that I do a lot of endurance runs, a lot of marathons and longer races. And during my participation in that sport, I've learned a lot. I've learned how to endure, how to push in, how to suffer. That's a big one. How to suffer, how to not give up. But this last race I had, I learned so much more. I learned how to praise. I was doing a race down in the Florida Keys. It's called the Keys 100. It's a 100-mile run from Key Largo to Key West. It's the second hottest 100-mile run in the United States. It was about 104 degrees, about 65% humidity. There were people out there having to tape their shoes because the adhesive in their shoes were melting. And the race before that was a 50-mile run through the Everglades. And I came to such a beautiful moment with God there. You know, I joke, but God met me in a swamp. And ever since that moment, I've been pressing in and trying to get back to that moment of brokenness, to where he just showed up and touched me, and I could feel him. And I told a lot of people here that during this 100-mile race, I had very high expectations. You know, I wanted to press in. I wanted to get to that sweet spot again. And you know, from the time I stepped on the starting line until the gun went off, my whole prayer was, Lord, get me to the finish line. You know, I'm here with you for the next 24 plus hours. You know, let's turn this into a praise session. Amen. And I started running, ran some more, and kept running. And every mile, my prayer was, Lord, just get me to the next one. And He did. He did. This was the hardest race I've ever done in my life. I've never had a blister before in any of my runs. My entire bottom of my feet were blistered. My feet were swollen about 2 sizes bigger than what they typically are. It was to the point to where I could barely move. About mile 79, I was down to 40-minute miles. I was walking on the heels. I couldn't step on my feet. They wouldn't support me. It felt like there was concrete in my knees. The only reason I was moving forward was because I was throwing my weight forward and the gravity was pushing me. And I made it to an aid station, and we had a paramedic come over, and he was taking a look at my feet. And he told me that there was nothing he could do for the blisters. He tried to get a needle in there to pop them, but he couldn't. They were too deep. And the entire bottom of my feet, every pad, every part of your foot that touches the ground had blisters. And the race marshal came up and told me, he said, you're not going to make it. He said, you don't have enough time. They only give you 32 hours for this race. He said the lady who left about 10 minutes ahead of me was our official last place person. And that if I wanted to keep going, I had to go now, but I wasn't going to make it. And he told me, you know, your wife's wife is here, your mom is here. You know, if you want to call it a day, this is the time. And I told my wife, I said, well, I promised myself 3 things. I wasn't going to give up. I was either going to finish, run at a time, or an ambulance was going to come and get me. So I just decided I'm just going to keep walking and make it as far as I could make it. I made it about 50 yards past that aid station, and I had the most purging cry of my life. You know, at first I was angry. You know, Lord, I've asked you, I've been diligent in my prayers, please just get me to that finish line. And then I realized I need to praise. He brought me 80 miles. Right. 80 miles. from the sun up to the sunset and back to another sun up, and without stopping. And I got to the point to where I just accepted it. I said, Lord, and I just started thanking him. I started praising him, and I had that feeling that I had in the swamp, but it was so much more magnified. Something happened when I switched my prayer from please get me there to thank you for bringing me here. I could almost feel God resting on my shoulders. And something happened. It doesn't make sense to me. My mind, body, heart, spirit, soul, everything aligned. And I started shuffling my feet. And then I started running. And the harder I was running, the harder I was praising and thanking God. Amen. The last 20 miles, after being told that you're not going to make it, I turned it into a praise session instead of a please help me session. Right. Yes. And the last 20 miles, I was averaging about 10-minute miles. I was making it past crew stops before my wife was even making it there in the car.
Praise God.
And I've struggled with my praise, guys. I've struggled hard. I could feel the chains dropping as I ran. I probably look like a crazy person. I'm running down, overseas highway, hands in the air, full on sobbing, crying. It had to be a sight. But he carried me. He carried me. He gave me the strength. He took me all the way to that finish line before that cutoff time. This song, Oceans, it says, take me to the place where my feet may feel. That has a whole new meaning to me, because this was not by my might. There's no way I can take credit for it. I was done. Richard was done at mile 8. And I had nothing left to give. And God showed up and showed out. Amen. Amen. And I've been asked a lot, when you say you run races like that, why do you do it? And I've never been able to accurately answer that. But I do it because there's this just beauty in being broken and having to lean on God and finding thanks in that type of situation. I implore everyone, find that situation in your life to where you can be broken, where you can't lean on your own. You can't logically figure it out. You can't muscle the strength. Find that area, whatever it may be, dig in and thank him for carrying you this far. Amen. Because he's not going to stop. Right. He's not done with you. Right. He's not done with any of us. Amen. Find that area of brokenness and find praise in it.